Good evening, NOSA community. It is Sharika, and I am back. I am glad to be hanging out with you guys for just a little bit this evening. And I wanted to jump in to give a couple of quick updates as well as kind of share my prediction on what I think 2023 will bring to our industry. So, if you're new to our community, welcome. We're glad you're here. Um, let us know where you're from. Let us know a little bit about your agency and why you started this journey. So, we're excited to have so many new members in 2022. We've probably grown leaps and bounds and all of that in between, and it's really allowed us to get the information out to the community. So, a little bit about us. We started back in 2017, and I tell people that the journey to start was probably the easiest thing to do with regards to the Facebook group. So, I wanted to connect to a community of people who were like me at that time, who were nurses or healthcare professionals who were interested in getting into the healthcare staffing business but didn't know where to start. And our experience in 2017 was that there was quite a bit of gatekeeping with regards to information on starting the process, like do's and don'ts, where you start, how you get contracts, how you determine the bill rate, the payment process, how do you market to decision makers, how the whole VMS system works. So all the questions that you guys have been asking over the last few years. And what I decided to do, which I mentioned in my Facebook stories recently, is create the solution. So the solution for me was was the NOSA Group, was a community of people coming together where we get the opportunity to network, collaborate, connect with each other, ask questions, which is a core part of what we do here at the NOSA Group, and really get information and guidance from people who are actually doing the work, who understand that, in my opinion, nurses, healthcare professionals are the experts of the industry because we see not only the front lines, but we also are a part of a lot of the administrative and the behind the scenes pieces that help keep so many healthcare systems and hospitals moving and operating and growing. So that's kind of how this group got started. We've been around for some time. If we have any of my day ones on here who were around when it was just a handful of us, kind of chucking away at the process and kind of figuring things out for ourselves. We grew the community from one or two or handful of people into thousands of members. And one of the things which was for me a amazingly outstandingly huge accomplishment was actually getting together. And we were able to do that this past August at NOSACon 2022 in Atlanta, Georgia at the Georgia Tech Hotel and Conference Center. And it was spectacular. And a big part of having that happen, or kind of taking that next step with the group and moving it from just a social media type of group, was the same concept. Hey, I felt like we were in a good place. It was enough of us. It was a great opportunity for us to not only connect, network, but really talk, because COVID brought a lot of change into our industry. COVID gave many of us opportunities. It definitely kicked open doors for those of us who were, figuring it out and just kind of starting the process. But it also brought about quite a few struggles for those of us who were in the earlier stages and maybe had an established business and had more direct contracts than we necessarily had other types of contracts. So when those direct contracts kind of went away or needed us less and less, we had to look and pivot at ways to keep our business and our staffing agency open, and what that was supposed to look like in the future. Because yes, we know COVID is mostly over, but in the time of COVID in end of 2019 into 2020, we really didn't know how long the pandemic would last. We ran into kind of a lot of what we've seen, and what some of the conversations I've seen at conferences I've attended, the kind of sharing of resources. So the pool of resources began to get tighter. In a place that it wasn't. In states where there were enormously high cases, the needs would rush to that direction, or the needs would rush to another direction, which would just make access to quality talent a little bit more challenging. And then also the other issue was a lot of permanent staff went out into the travel spaces. And it kind of became a little bit of a catch-22 where you have, yes, you want people to work agency work or travel work if that's what they want to do, but then maybe your clients also have a need for staff. And from that, and some of the many, many different things that happened during COVID that I'm definitely not going to get into, on this particular video, we kind of reached a place where we are today, where the high bill rates, the high pay rates are starting to dry up, but we're experiencing what a lot of people talk about as far as like a downturn. So it's not a downturn in the perspective of there is still a need, but the need looks different. The industry looks different. There's way more technology than there was 2 years ago. There's way more companies and businesses out there than there was 2 years ago, because there is an opportunity there. And it requires that we restructure, for many of us, our organizations to do more and different. With so many changes happening, like 2 years, the amount of change I think is fairly rapid. You have to think about, what do you want your business to do in the next 3 to 5 years, like today? What does your agency or business represent now that may look different in the future? Like, why, which is what a lot of us have experienced, why would a nurse or a healthcare professional work for you? As I mentioned, many permanent staff that went into travel didn't return to their permanent jobs. That creates an opportunity for some of us to start doing more permanent placement. Many of us are running into the roadblocks too of, hey, well, we can do permanent placement, but maybe there's not as much opportunity to do that in the area that you're located. What else can I do? So that definitely swings open the door to kind of say, hey, are there supplementary businesses that my company can do to offset any downturn or shifts that I have to go through until our industry kind of stabilizes to more of a semblance of what it was, but understanding that it probably will never go back to the way it was. And an example of that, I would say, would definitely be, we'll never go back to a time where there's not as much technology as we see in the industry. That was something that I think was needed. As a person who's a second career nurse, that was definitely a gap that I noticed in the industry, and I don't see that going anywhere. So if you're a new or established NOSA and you're kind of tech shy or not as tech savvy, that's something that I would for sure incorporate as one of my goals as we go into 2023, because that allows you to compete. That convenience that technology offers is something that nurses are requiring. Also, nurses are requiring different types of experiences when it comes to employers. They want to know that they're valued, which was a lot of the feedback that many businesses received during the pandemic, especially in healthcare. That they're important, that they're truly a part of a team. And a way to tap into some of that is to ask. You'll ask your staff what they want, what they're looking for. Offer, more than your traditional benefits and packages for your staff members. Don't make the job harder for yourself. Go to the source, which is employees. Do focus groups and surveys or anonymous surveys where they can genuinely express how they're feeling. And also make sure to connect with your clients to let them know, hey, we want to offer you, we have the staff available. These are some of the reasons that we're unable to place at the level we placed before. It could be pay, it could be environment, it could be management. Create a more ongoing conversation with your clients so that you're able to meet their needs. And then when you're meeting their needs, they're getting the type of staff members that they want working for their particular facilities in travel per diem types of capacity. Some other things to think about, and we'll touch on this and I'll put more information in the group about it, is the regulation. So more staffing regulations came out of the pandemic, and for a lot of different reasons, and we've done a post and sessions and stuff like that in the group about it. we at the NOSA Group have decided to go a little bit deeper and actually work on some work groups that'll really work towards figuring out our places in that. And what that really looks like is that, for the most part, in my opinion, most states don't have heavy regulation, a long process to enter healthcare staffing. And what that looks like is, if you're interested in starting a staffing agency, most states have a very small checklist of things that you have to do in addition to your normal, hey, I'm starting a business requirements. There are definitely other states like Florida, California, Illinois that have some small additional requirements. But for the most part, the other states, it's pretty much a simplified process. It's not very costly, and then it's also not necessarily paper intensive. So some states like Maryland are also may have an application. They may require policies and procedures. Florida has you go through the ACA process to identify what type of nurse staffing agency you're going to have. Illinois also has an application process. California, I think New York too, have nurse registries. Some have bonds. So those states are identified, but they're not the majority of the United States. I think there's probably close to 10 states that have like additional stuff. But nonetheless, with the pandemic and all of the issues and highlighting the pay and bill rates and things like that, and kind of bringing the industry to the forefront, a lot of people didn't think that that piece of the industry was being managed well. And because of that, more and more states are looking to implement way heavier, more in-depth regulations and requirements for healthcare staffing agencies to do business in their respective states. That looks like states like Minnesota and Massachusetts that already have, legislation in place to say that you have to meet specific requirements. You can't go over certain amounts with regards to bill rates. You have to maybe do certain reportings to the state on a regular basis. So that's things that we see coming down the pipeline. Some of that stuff was discussed in session in quite a few states, Illinois, Missouri, and you guys can help me out if I miss a state. Pennsylvania was another state. I think West Virginia, I think one of the states in the South also had, some conversations around, establishing, laws, legislation to say, hey, if you want to start in our state, you have to do these certain things. You have to report, certain information, bill rates. You have to report different licensing requirements that staff members have, and a bunch of different things. So I'm not going to really dig that deep in the file section. There's the different bills that are out there. So we're going to try and look to explore how we can, one, as a group, be a part of that conversation, which is really key and pivotal, because the person that's, or the people that it would impact the most are smaller agencies, small to medium-sized agencies, and then also, identify ways to kind of come up with, win-win types of solutions. So more information will go out about that. I know a lot of people in those states have reached out, so we'll share more information about that particular work group that we'll be doing as we go into next year. And what that looks like is, in order to affect change or have an impact, you actually have to be a part of the process in your respective states that your business is licensed to do business. The state that your business is licensed to do business. So what we're trying to establish is just an opportunity to spearhead it. So it's not something that we can do in every state because we're not licensed to do business in every state, but we would like to get representatives, you guys, to work with us to kind of come up with plans where we can support you guys, provide information, resources, connections with people that may be able to provide more in-depth and more state-specific assistance, so that you're not kind of stuck out there trying to figure it out. The House bill or Senate bills are very intensive in some of the language and what some of it means, and kind of how quickly or swiftly the process goes through, and does or does not get approved, or delayed. There's quite a few of them that have been delayed, which just means that they'll be presented again next year. So it's something that you want to be prepared for so that you're not later surprised that now your state is requiring that you have specific reporting to send to them. And if you don't do those things, you either put yourself at risk to be fined by the state and or shut down. So those are just some things. We'll be having a couple of Zoom sessions before we wrap up the rest of 2022. I can't believe the year's gone by so fast. I have to say, once October hit, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, the rest of the month kind of flew by. So hopefully you've had the chance to meet some of your 2022 goals, connect with others in the community, even check out some of our Facebook Lives, which I think are beneficial, whether it's from me or other presenters in the group. We'll also be sharing some information for other NOSAs who want to do presentations to the group to do so as well. As I mentioned early on, we're a community, so we want everybody to have the opportunity. We want to make sure that we're providing valuable information and valuable perspectives, so that's definitely something that you can look forward to in 2023. A couple of other things is social media. So I talked about it probably since the time I did my first Facebook Live back in 2019 here on the group. It's a big part of our industry. You know, if you're not on it, you need to get on it. I know some of us are shy. I was shy, to you all surprise, but there is such an audience there. So what I've done is two things. One, we do have a YouTube channel if you want to hear more in-depth information. So some of the changes that Facebook has made as of recent is that the videos I do like this live, in 30 days, it's going to disappear. So if you want to revisit it or watch it again, we're moving all of our Facebook Live sessions as well as incorporating some new sessions onto our YouTube channel. Also, and I put in the comments how you can connect to our YouTube channel. It's all the same on all the platforms at THENOSA GRP. And then we're also heading over slowly, it took us the whole year to get there, to another platform, TikTok, which is also a very big community, social community for nursing and other healthcare professionals. That's where they're hanging out, guys. And not to my surprise, a lot of agencies, small, big, and large, are on that platform kind of collecting, bringing together, you know, opportunities for healthcare professionals on that platform. So we're also on TikTok, and we will be doing our first TikTok Live tomorrow. So if you get a chance to jump in. We'll do a post in the group about the time that we're going to do it. We definitely would love to get the support for those who are already on TikTok, because I know some of you guys have already shared that you're on TikTok. TikTok, like Facebook, like Instagram, like Twitter, are all definitely platforms where you have to figure it out a little bit. I tell people, honestly, don't work too hard at it. Just be consistent, which is sometimes even its own challenge, and you'll get the results and make the connections that you want to make and get the exposure. We found that for a lot of NOSAs, the biggest challenge is that you're not getting enough exposure. So we're also going to do, and more details will go out about the one for January, but we're doing a virtual Zoom job fair. So shout out to the first crew that's going to be a part of that. And as we kind of move into January, we'll open up opportunities for others to join in those sessions. And that's really how people connect to you. So having that exposure through social media, Facebook, even if you're not started yet, kind of building up that audience really allows you to connect to people when you need them. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday, upcoming holiday. Be safe out there. Hopefully, you know, for those who are new into the industry, opportunities will come. This time between like now and the end of the year is a great way to reconnect with clients who maybe said, we're not interested. We don't use the agency, because the need happens in this block of the next 6 weeks. And then, you know, reevaluate what you're doing, what makes sense, what you need changes. and jump back in. Marketing your business, connecting with clients isn't easy. It's a thing that you have to do ongoing, much like social media, to kind of make that progression that you're looking for. The consistency matters, and without that, your business will continue to struggle. And understand that everybody has different results in different states because they have different needs. The question comes up 110 times in the group, and I understand it. Well, how do I get more contracts? How do I make more connections? A big part of it is that you want to go to places that have greater needs, or you want to bring about connections or specialties that that particular place has needs. So doing your market research really allows you to kind of see those types of things. As always, thank you guys to those who have been a part of the community over the past 5 years, as well as those who are joining now. Feel free to ask questions. Make sure to search the group. A lot of your how to get started, where to get started, processes and things to do are already in the group. They're listed under guides, files, and in the search bar, we have 5 years of information, guys. I know that as we go into 2023, some of that information will look different. I recently updated my business operations list of the things that and the companies that I work with to run my business. And then as we jump into December, we'll be talking more about small teams, how to work effectively and efficiently in small teams. So we'll have those conversations coming out, and those Talk About It Tuesdays. For those who are interested, I encourage you guys to participate, because working in small teams can be like the greatest thing, or it can be a very challenging thing. But understanding, the pros and cons of it all really helps. So again, as always, don't forget, in the comment section below is our link to our TikTok, where we'll be going live tomorrow. And if you want to see more of these videos after the 30-day period, when they disappear, you can check them out on our YouTube channel. Thanks as always, and I'll be chatting with you.